So this is where it all starts with an Ultima RS, is the chassis. So we took the opportunity here to remove the rear subframe, or actually some of the bars from the chassis, ready for our custom-made Porsche PDK subframe to go into the back of the car. As we're moving forward, we've fitted the rad pack, the charge cooler, the air conditioning, and all the front suspension and geometry of the car. Continuing on, this is the chassis going through it, and this is where we actually modified the steering column position. We moved it 20mm further over to the right to give the driver a better seating position. Pre-fitting the top clam and the side skirts of the car just to mark and make sure everything in position, and then we moved on to the Dodson clutch and Dodson billet sump for the Porsche PDK, with also some extra strengthening brackets on the bottom of the gearbox to give it a bit more rigidity, ready to take 1100 horsepower from this absolutely insane V8 supercharged engine. Removing the Dodson clutch was actually quite difficult, and I had to make a special tool to remove the clutch pack and the cover. And then we moved on to the braking system and the dead man left foot pedal brace as well. So I made all of this here in-house at SRD Tuning. Also, when we fitted the pedal box, we made sure that we tied everything into the chassis and into the floor. So this is all custom made here by myself, giving the pedals a nice route to the chassis for maximum stiffness. Now this is all welded out with 3mm steel with some holes and making sure that everything fits correctly, and these will not move at all. Even at 150 kilos of brake force, they are rigid. Moving on to carbon fiber panels and 3D design. So we just needed to 3D design all of this ready for the center console to be made, trimmed in leather.
So welcome to the Ultima fuel system. This is totally different to how Ultima set up the fuel system, and there is a key reason why this is different compared to every other Ultima. It's because we've got way more power. This engine produces 1100 horsepower, so one single pump was not enough fuel supply for that engine. So what we have done here is we have used a radium in-tank swell pot with a lift pump, and then we have triple Walbro 485s. That is enough flow and enough fuel for 1500 horsepower. So we've got plenty of fuel being delivered to the engine. It does mean you have to make a modification to the fuel tank, unfortunately. So this is the radium swell pot and lift pump. So this is our swell pot design here and our lift pump here. And as you can see, the lift pump just lifts all the fuel into the swell pot, and that means we will never get any fuel surge. So going around corners and hard braking, it's always going to be supplied with fuel. What that does mean is you do have to modify the tank, unfortunately. So you do have to cut it slightly bigger, and we are left with some overlapped holes. But the gasket that Radium supply is fine. It will cover all of these, and then it gets sandwiched between the top hanger and the fuel tank and the backing ring on the back of it. So that's not a problem at all. So what Sam's doing behind me, he's now going to be modifying the foam for internally for the fuel tank, so we can get all of this fuel system in and sorted. The lift pump goes right down to the bottom of the fuel tank, and the little tea bag, I call it, sits on the bottom. Obviously we still have our balance pipe between both fuel tanks, so our fuel supply will be exactly the same, and on the RS you have twin fillers left and right. So this is the fuel system for this particular Ultima. I say we needed it because we've got a lot more power, and Sam's doing a cracking job of modifying all the foam in the fuel tank as well. So yeah, awesome piece of kit. And if you are looking to do maybe a twin turbo LS or LT4, LT5, recommend probably putting one of these in for your fuel supply. It does mean that some of the ports on the back of the fuel tank are no longer used, because we have our fuel feed from the top here instead of it being internally on the tank and going across. So what will happen is we'll end up P-clipping or bracket and running our fuel lines off of here and around and back to the engine. We'll be making all of our fuel lines in-house. We custom make all our fuel systems here at SRD Tuning. It doesn't matter if it's for you know, a 100 horsepower car or a 2000 horsepower car. We make all of our lines, and it's so that we can get the perfect length of all the lines, the correct fittings, the correct flow through them fittings as well. A lot of this will be using speed flow fittings, so it's a larger bore diameter with the radius of the fuel fitting itself. But yeah, highly recommend this if you're going really big power, but it fits really nicely. The foam will fit really nicely, and then that drops straight in. All the holes are already drilled already, so looking forward to, once Sam's finished all the foam, we can then pack the foam, put the fuel level sender in as well. These just dropping, there's two either side, and then they'll be connected together, and the resistance for the fuel level will be measured between the two. So that's a standard Ultima part there, and then this is our modified fuel system here with our foam that Sam is cutting away at the moment. So
moving on to inside of the clamshell now, where we just time-lapse the masking. It takes a long time to mask the front and rear clamshell. There's a lot of holes, there's a lot of edges, and we wanted to make sure that when we done the spraying of the clamshell, the underside of the clamshell in black, that the edges had clean lines, and that was the most important thing to me. So when I masked, I got Sam to trim every single piece of masking tape to the same edge that I wanted, so it wasn't kind of on show, and all the edges looked great. There was no yellow raw fiber or fiberglass that you could see. And yeah, it did take a long time. I'm not gonna lie, it took a long time to do all the masking on the front and the rear, about 2 days in total, and the end results were really good. But let's just talk about, you know, some products that I used whilst doing this job, because I think it's worthwhile.
obviously it's raw fiberglass, so it's the backing of the gel coat and the fiberglass. So there's a few products that I use that I think work very well, are very easy to use, and also stick and are keyed really well. So the first thing you have to use is you have to use a slow drying degreaser. So once I've air blown all the old material off, any dust off of it, I then wipe it, the whole panel over with a degreaser and a microfiber lint-free cloth. That gets all the last bits of crap off of the panel. Once all the panel's then done, and I know it's clean, I don't touch it. You can't touch it, otherwise your fingerprints will stop the paint from sticking. The next thing I use is a thing called U-Pole. It's a power can and it's an etch primer. This stuff I've used for the last 10 years, and it doesn't matter what you spray it on, it will key and etch into it. So aluminium, stainless, plastics, fiberglass. It works really well. It gives a really nice little key. You don't have to go mental, you don't have to put a real wet coat over it. It just acts as a key. So we use the chemicals inside the can to give it an etch, and then It can still be slightly tacky. If you want to leave it before you put the next layer over it, you can leave it for 10 minutes and give it another dust coat and put a dust coat over it. So once it's all primed up in the power can, the etch primer, you then move into a product called Endasa. Now there's two here, there's an aerosol version and there's a Schutzgun version. What I've done to make my life easy, because the Schutzgun deposits quite a lot of material very quickly, is I use the aerosol to do all the edges, and what that done, it gives me a little bit more control over everything, so I can get all in the edges, all the awkward bits that are difficult to get to with the aerosol can. It's exactly the same stuff. And then you move on for the large quantity and large areas is the Endasa black stone chip coating, and you use the Schutzgun, which is a gun like this. You just unscrew the top, screw it in, give it an airline, and it comes out like a peppered kind of pebble effect. But on the fiberglass, it actually makes it look a little bit more uniform. There was some big undulations in the fiberglass, and once it's painted in this, it kind of almost disappears. So I'm really happy how that clamshell's come out. A few little bits around the edges that are bled, as I said, that are being wiped over whilst it's still slightly tacky. We'll just remove it. So yeah, I'm really happy. Now I can get to the point where I can bond all the rest of the grills in. So we've got about 35 grills on the back to bond in. Once they're bonded in, I can then go over with the thermal protection, and once I've done the thermal protection, I'm then going to laser cut some aluminium panels, have them powder coated black, and then bond them over the top of it as well. So it means that all the edges over anything that we've done here is super neat. No rough edges anywhere, everything very well proportional and very detailed, like we like to build here. Anyway, that is pretty much it for what the products I'm using for the underside of the clamshell. So the rear's done, I've got to do the front next, and then we're going to pull the body off the car, the side skirts off the car, and we're going to do all of them as well, so the whole lot. So I'm probably going to do 4 litres of this, so we're going to add some weight to the car. So probably add 4 or 5 kilos to the weight of the car to give it a good protection underneath it. But when you've got when you've got 1100 horsepower and it only weighs 980 kilos, it's going to weigh 984 kilos now. But one of them 1 litre pots like this does the entire clamshell, the entire rear clamshell. So I'm only expecting to use half of this for the front, another half for one of the side skirts, and another half for the other side skirt. So that's it. That's pretty much it.
So this was a very nerve-wracking time for me. One slip of the air saw here will damage the gel coat, and I couldn't afford that. I can't live with myself if I had to damage the gel coat at this stage. So it was masked, and I spent a good amount of time of getting comfortable with the air saw, and I could just lean with my hands and trim that edge perfectly. So I was actually cutting on the inside edge of the marker pen, making sure that the blade never really come all the way out. I mean, it's a curved surface here, so I'm having to angle the blade and just taking my time.
So today we're doing the carbon install of these grills through the side skirts. Luckily they're off the car, so it gives a bit more access front and rear instead of doing it on the car. These are a new addition with the Ultima RS. They're fairly new, but they are quite tricky to fit. Ultima do provide you with a template for this that you have to cut out, mark, and you can see it's 40mm down from the top of the side skirt, 75mm between this plane here. This is the first hole that you cut out, and it's not too bad, this one here. However, the side that goes internally is really tricky. So this is the lip and the line that it has to follow, and I've already marked it. I've got to cut that one out as well, so I'm not really looking forward to that one. This one's gone really well. I've still got to mark and drill the 4 holes and put the riv nuts in the side skirt, but we'll carry on and take our time, because this has to be absolutely perfect first time round. There's no messing around, and hopefully it fits really well. What this is going to do, it's going to take some of the tyre wake and the airflow from the tyre. It's quite close here, the wheel arch and the tyre, so it's just going to move some of the air through here and out through the side skirt like it should do, improving a bit of airflow as well. So yeah, I'm not looking forward to the next bit, but you can see on the video, take your time and it should come out absolutely perfect. So this is the one that I was talking about. You do get a template for it. It doesn't quite fit perfectly, and it's hard to judge height and left and right. So I've put it where I think it should go. So what I've done is I've drawn around the outside of the template, and then I've drawn a 5mm edge all the way around the inside. This is so that I can try and get it perfect. So I think I'm going to cut just above the line on the inside and then finger sander it out to make sure it is a perfect fit that first time. I didn't actually see anything in the manual for bonding anything in here, so I think it is more like a compression fit, but we'll see, you know, how good the cut is once it's done and how clean the edge is. On this particular car, I'm really trying to go for, you know, super clean edges everywhere and, you know, really professionally done. So I'm just going to take my time and I'm just going to make this the very best that I can make it. But yeah, this is definitely a more tricky one to do. I'm using an air saw with 32 TPI blade, so it gives it a really fine cut, and that should give me a very neat edge. The other side just needs a little bit of a file and maybe a bit of a finger sand in a few places to be absolutely perfect. But this one, yeah, tricky one. So I'll come back to you once I've cut the hole and see how good the fit is.
One thing we don't have here at SRD Tuning in-house is a spray booth. So I decided to do this outside, and there's a few reasons why I decided to do it outside. One, it's well ventilated. Two, because this is the underside and it will mostly be covered with a thermo mat, so a fiberglass back with a silver foil glued over all of this paint. I didn't see a need to have it in a spray booth to do all of this painting. There's just no reason, you know, to have the cleanliness of a spray booth when you're doing kind of the polyurethane sealant, because most of it will be covered. It's more for aesthetics when you lift the clamshell up in areas. But yeah, the end results come out. I mean, it was a really nice texture and it looks great. It's a uniform texture. It looks really good. And then as we unmasked it, we could really see just how well it had come out. So we're here with the Doc's clamshell for the RS. So originally this was yellow fiberglass and black fiberglass, and the Doc wanted it all black. So we have detailed masked the entire clamshell. It took a day. How long did it take to make? About a day? About a day, yeah. About a day to do the rear, about half a day to the front. So every single little bit has been masked and detailed, and then we wrapped it all in polythene. So what we've done is we've put a U-pole etch primer on the base of it, and then we used a product called Indasa. It's a single pack stone chip. It actually goes slightly rubbery, so what I'm hoping is that any of the stones get thrown up from the wheels in the wheel arches, hopefully it should just bounce off of it and shouldn't chip any of this black paint. It's, like I say, it's a polyurethane based paint, so yeah, hopefully that will be really good. So now it is all black, it does another thing as well. It puts a backing on the gel coat. I don't know if you guys have seen what can happen with the bodies is that after say 5 years and it being out in the sun, is you can see through the gel coat and you can see the colour that's been applied after the gel. So the actual yellow colour is part of the gel. So after a little bit of time, the UV rays get in there and it kind of goes translucent, and you can see where they've actually painted on the colour. So hopefully with a dark backer, it should always look vibrant. The yellow should always pop. The next thing we've got to do is, after it's all unmasked, is we've got to put the pedestals in for the rear wing, and then we've got to do the bonding of all the grills in all the little places that it needs its grills. So that'll be bonded in with a 3M panel bond, and then we're going to thermo-proof and thermo-mat the whole back area here, because this is actually above the engine. So we're not decided yet if it's going to be silver or gold, but it is looking very universal all over. There's not any bits which look, you know, shiny or glossy. It's all quite a satin kind of matte, so I'm really happy with the universal finished throughout the whole of the clamshell. So you've seen me mask it, you've seen me paint it, you've seen me
unwrap it. What we're doing now is just Bailey's just going around all the edges, and all what he's doing is any areas that it's bled through slightly, whilst it's still tacky, is use a little bit of brake cleaner, and you can just wipe some of that overspray where it's come through and bled through the masking tape, and it gives it a really nice clean edge. So really happy with that. Anyway, keep watching for more updates on the Ultima. Take both seats out. That's all.